For most people, when the phone rings, it is a simple task of picking up the phone and saying hello. The conversation begins, and neither party experiences any issues. For me, however, this task is more complicated. Join me this week as I discuss the challenges of talking on the phone when using a tracheostomy tube and ventilator. When the phone rings at my home, it is a race to get the call. If the device is not right next to me, I have to scurry to find the phone. When the phone is ringing, I do not have time to unplug my machines from the electrical outlet and struggle to move the equipment. Instead, I usually quickly disconnect from my ventilator and breathe for a few moments on my own. Once I'm able to answer the phone, I then reconnect to my ventilator. The next challenge is speaking. When I'm connected to my ventilator, the cuff on my tracheostomy tube is inflated. This allows my ventilator to provide full ventilatory support. However, with the tracheostomy tube cuff inflated, no air passes through my vocal cords. This means I cannot speak. In order to talk, I need to deflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube. When the cuff is deflated, air can travel up my respiratory tract, through my vocal cords, and then exit out my nose and mouth. To deflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube, I need to use a syringe. When deflating my cuff, I need 3 to 5 seconds to withdraw the air from the cuff. If I try to deflate the cuff before answering the phone, the person will often either hang up or the call will go to voicemail. If I pick up the phone and then deflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube, the person may hang up while waiting for me to say hello. Once the conversation starts, a new challenge begins. My ventilator gives me breaths based on my breathing needs. The ventilator uses logarithms to determine the settings. It takes the ventilator about 2 minutes to make adjustments to my breathing. When talking on the phone, my breathing must change quickly to speak at the correct time. If I'm asked a question, I might not be able to answer right away because my ventilator may be giving me a breath in. I will have to wait for the ventilator to exhale in order to speak. At times, people become very irritated with me because it takes a while to answer questions. Additionally, I often grow impatient because I want to ask a question, but by the time my ventilator switches to allow exhalation, the other person begins talking again. Sometimes the only way I'm able to speak or ask questions is by talking over the person on the phone. The absolute worst part of talking on the phone is when I'm placed on hold. I'm able to deflate my cuff and speak for short periods of time. However, if I'm placed on hold and have to wait for more than 5 minutes, I become very short of breath. When the cuff on my tracheostomy tube is deflated, I am not receiving full ventilatory support. I have to use my respiratory muscles to help me breathe. My breathing muscles are not strong and fatigue quickly. If the cuff on my tracheostomy tube is deflated for too long, I start struggling to breathe. While waiting on hold, I need to inflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube to allow my respiratory muscles to rest. However, this is usually a bad idea. When the person comes back from hold, they want to know immediately if I'm still on the phone. Since it takes 3 to 5 seconds to deflate my cuff, the person on the phone will almost always hang up on me when they do not hear a response quickly when I'm asked if I'm still on the line. I have not found a remedy for the issue of waiting on hold. Instead, I keep my cuff deflated and pray the wait time is short. While waiting on hold, I often become very short of breath. Sometimes I will have a difficult time talking to the person when I'm reconnected because I am gasping for air. My respiratory muscles will burn with fatigue. At times, it feels as though I am going to pass out. When I make calls to businesses, I know there is a high likelihood I will be placed on hold. For this reason, I only make telephone calls when I have the ability to lie in bed for the rest of the day. After waiting on hold for a prolonged period of time, it often takes several hours to one full day to recover from straining my respiratory muscles. Thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe down below. I hope you have a great day and a wonderful week. Bye-bye.